So in some shape or form, it is possible to conceive of life elsewhere in the universe, perhaps following similar principles, but nevertheless quite different when it comes to the realization of them. So I'm kind of intrigued now, because in your books, excuse me, particularly The God Delusion, you're absolutely adamant that if there were such a thing as a God, it would absolutely have had to have evolved. It couldn't simply have always been there. It would have had to have evolved. And yet you seem to be saying now that actually it is possible to conceive that elsewhere in the universe different scientific laws might apply. Aren't you simply taking a law that is accepted for life on Earth and trying to apply it beyond Earth and even beyond the universe?
Yeah, this is a fascinating question. The extent to which what we can speculate about elsewhere in the universe, where we have absolutely no idea what's going on, how much we can say on sort of purely logical grounds has got to be true. And I think that the point about complexity having to have evolved is not just a point of observation on this planet. It's not just a matter of observed fact that all the complexity we see on this planet has evolved by gradual degrees. I think it's a matter of logic that complex things, by their very definition, are improbable things, statistically improbable things. And statistically improbable things don't just happen. Statistically improbable things have to come about through an orderly, comprehensible process. Evolution by natural selection is, I think, the only such process, ultimately, that we know that's capable of doing that. So I wouldn't like to say that evolution by natural selection has got to be going on any planet in the universe where there is life. But something equivalent to it has got to be going on, such that simplicity builds up into complexity by a comprehensible process. You cannot just say, oh, complexity just happened. You can say, maybe hydrogen just happened, because hydrogen is relatively simple. But what you can't say is something complicated enough to, shall we say, design the laws of physics, or design life, or design a bird's wing. Something complicated enough to think that out is the very kind of thing which is not just going to happen spontaneously. And when you think about it, creationists use exactly that argument themselves when they say something as complicated as an eye or a bacterial flagellum couldn't just happen by chance. Well, of course it couldn't. That's why we need natural selection. And by the same token, exactly, God couldn't just happen.
Okay. It's an interesting idea that I think I've encountered somewhere in your works, that you pose the idea, and I feel the need to issue that health warning again, that this is not something that you're claiming as true. You might like to just confirm that in your answer. That it's possible that elsewhere in the universe, beings could have evolved to such an extent that they might even appear godlike to us if we were ever to encounter them.
Yes, I mean, when I say I don't believe in God, somebody might say to me, well, how do you know there's not some superlatively complicated and intelligent godlike being orbiting Alpha Centauri, who would be so obviously godlike that were we ever to meet this character or those characters, we would fall on our knees and worship them. And I think that's perfectly plausible. I think if you think about it, if we could fly in a Boeing 747 to the Middle Ages or to the Dark Ages and suddenly land by the side of an Anglo-Saxon village, I mean, they would undoubtedly think we were gods, and they'd fall down and worship us. By the same token, that I bet there are somewhere in the universe, because the universe is so large, I bet that somewhere in the universe there are beings even more advanced relative to us than we are advanced relative to a Dark Age Anglo-Saxon peasant. And so we probably would fall on our knees and worship them. But they would not be gods in the sense of things that have just happened spontaneously. They themselves would have had to have come into existence via either evolution or something like evolution, which has the same property of building up complexity step by step through slow, gradual degrees from primordial simplicity. They've had a long time to do it. It's only taken life on this planet about 3.5 to 4 billion years to evolve to our level of technology. There's about 14 billion years in the universe as a whole to play with. And so there's been plenty of time for superior technologies to develop. They might well be godlike, but they would not be gods in the sense that they would not have been there from the start. They would have come about through slow, gradual degrees. Intelligence, creativity, design, complexity, these are things that all come late into the universe. They cannot exist right from the start.